Hello, hello. Morning, everybody.
Everyone.
Welcome to the mid-year review, the Cireson mid-year review. Okay. Well, first off, who is on this session on the Cireson side today? My name is Joel Doss. I've been with the company for many, many years. I'm the director of sales. Effectively, that means I wear a number of different hats in the organization. So see a lot of familiar faces on the registration, or familiar names rather, on the registration list from today. Looking forward to participating in this session with everybody. Jeff?
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome. Great to have everyone with us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. My name is Jeff. I look after our customer success efforts here at Cireson. Also recognizing lots of names in this webinar, so it's great to have you all with us today. And looking forward to getting into this content today.
And I'm Adam Dasaki. I'm the Director of Product Management here. I've been Cireson for 4 years, but it's possible that you could have seen my name or heard me well before that. I was a customer before joining Cireson. Yeah, I'm also excited to get into this because we got some S&P stuff to cover. Obviously, System Center stuff. Well, you know what? I won't ruin it. I won't say anything. I won't say anything else. We can go to the next one.
All right, cool. Okay, so I think the introductions are mostly covered there. We have a few different topics queued up that we want to run through today. First being an update around System Center 25 and what to expect, timing, etc. Wanted to put in some time going through the ITSM awards program that we have launched. Received a lot of great submissions for ITSM process, and we want to review some of the results with the group here. Next, some coverage around the archiver and global search functionality around the Cireson portal. A little bit of a refresher on our M365 ITSM solution ticket, but maybe a little bit more focus for the session. Some conversation and some information around adding AI to the Cireson portal. From there, get into some sort of wrap-up conversation and cover off on some questions. Word about questions, we do have a Q&A functionality built into Teams here. Encourage everyone to ask questions. In these sessions, we generally do our best to answer those questions throughout the session. Depending on what those questions are, we may hold them for some conversation at the end of the session, or in some cases even reach out to set up a meeting to kind of go more deep dive into whatever subject matter that is. So yeah, looking forward to this. And Adam, I think we're good for you to take it away.
Yeah, so let's just get started with System Center 2025. So one, it's clearly happening. It's coming out. When's it happening? What's going to be included? What's going on with it?
Just good news,
regardless, yes. Regardless if your System Center deployment is purely internal or if you have remote access to it, Microsoft is continuing to improve overall System Center security with the introduction of TLS 1.3 and a host of other patches kind of throughout the rest of the suite. And it should probably go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that the entire Cireson suite of solutions will be fully compatible with Service Manager 2025 when it releases later this year, and has been excuse me. As has been the case, we will continue to innovate within the Service Manager space. We're going to continue to add enhancements, features, fixes, including updates to some of our console apps. And speaking of console apps, we're actually in the midst of working on several improvements and fixes across the entire console app landscape that we have, and we're looking to get those out shortly. And we're also simultaneously preparing for a baseline release within the next maybe a month-ish or so away, and I'll obviously get to include what's going to be in that. And then after that, there's a few items on the S&P roadmap that we'd like to get to because we know that they're being anxiously awaited, specifically around send email improvements as well as bulk edit. But I digress. The point is we're going to be fully compatible with Service Manager 2025. We're going to continue to light up relevant Microsoft Cloud experiences, as well as integration into Ticket for all of our artificial intelligence based functionality, but more on that in a later demo and point that we'll get to. Okay, so when specifically though? So right now, System Center 2025 is in preview, and that is currently available. And Microsoft is targeting a release later this year, directly alongside the release of Windows Server 2025. Now, the release of System Center, as always, means another 5 years of mainstream support with an additional 5 years of extended support. And that takes us out to 2035, which that seems okay. Yeah, all right. But it also means though, if you're doing the math, System Center 2016 and 2019 are now both technically on extended support. So if you haven't upgraded or you're looking to upgrade or you need some help upgrading, obviously, as always, we are here and willing and ready to help if we can. So just obviously, please reach out to myself or Jeff or Joel. We're here for you. So up next, I want to talk about the ITSM awards. We had our ITSM awards. That was kind of our recap of, we had a submission period, we reviewed all of our submissions, and then we announced those winners. And in the event that you haven't seen those winners or haven't seen anything that came out of that, I'm obviously going to jump into that. But we had these ITSM awards because we wanted to celebrate, and more importantly, we wanted to highlight the contributions as well as kind of just internal victories we know individuals at their respective organizations have had as it pertains to good, the best ITSM process, good automation, good integration, and those respective categories. So let's actually talk about those respective categories, and specifically, let's talk about those winners. So our categories actually touched on 3 different areas. Like I said, best ITSM process, best automation, and best integration. And our winners each brought something unique to the table. We had Kodak Alaris, Blick Art Materials, as well as Dorset Council, all kind of on different touch points of different things that they did to win these awards. So kind of a mix of asset management, some continuous improvement, and then also just a good Power BI feedback loop of integration. So let's get into those. So first is Dorset Council. Dorset Council is the winner of Best Integration. Dorset Council had a need to make reports available inside of Teams as well as SharePoint, make those more interactive, lower the technical barrier to entry across the entire organization, whether you're experiencing that dashboard or you're building that dashboard or you're modifying that dashboard, as well as integrate into business-specific applications alongside Service Manager data that doesn't really fit into standard SQL or OData queries for the portal. So for that, Dorset went all in on Power BI to abstract some of that SQL away from Service Manager, as again, integrate those non-SCSM oriented applications all into a single interface. Up next for best ITSM process is Kodak Alaris. So Kodak Alaris has been using, and just prepare for all the technologies to leave my mouth here, Active Directory, System Center Configuration Manager, System Center Orchestrator, System Center Service Manager, and Cireson Asset Management, as well as the rest of the Cireson suite, to manage its entire ITSM and ITAM asset management processes. And they've been doing that since kind of like all these products' respective inception. Now, the problem is that in terms of the Active Directory and Configuration Manager connectors, they import computers into Service Manager. They both do a great job of that, but they both really only are focused on the object creation, the configuration item creation, and not necessarily the entire lifecycle management of that asset. So through the use of Orchestrator runbooks, so some light automation, extending the Cireson asset management classes to their respective organizational needs, and Power BI dashboards. As a result of kind of combining all those things, personnel now knows how long assets have been attempting to be reclaimed through this color gradient-based chart, which is super useful. Power BI placed front and center, directly embedded into the Cireson Service Manager portal so that there's actually just kind of less navigation to do. And high-level executive reports so that you could see pretty much where everything is in the entire reclamation process for assets by their location, inventory, everything else. So this is just a really great, I think what we do like about this is that how tightly it integrates their ITSM and ITAM processes into a cohesive experience for all involved parties, really at just every level of the organization. And last but not least is Blick Art Materials for best automation. So Blick Art Materials utilizes Service Manager and Cireson to achieve a consistent and efficient change management experience that is combined with robust RBAC-based Active Directory infrastructure, dynamic scripting, and as a result, their change management process can handle a rather impressive amount of scenarios without actually having to change the underlying framework of what the process is, all through a combination of Cireson Advanced Request Offering, the Cireson Portal, and a very healthy use of Cireson PowerShell activity. So at Blick, changes really fall into like one of two categories. Sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. I want to make sure I get these two categories correctly. There's a request for change that doesn't really have a predefined template. It just, submit a blank template, submit a blank change, and you have to fill this thing out. Or there is routine maintenance, which, as the name might imply, is a regularly reoccurring type of change that has a predefined template, that has a predefined flow. And all of this actually leads to the creation of kind of this feedback loop of like, well, do you want to create a routine maintenance based template? Do you have a one-off change request? And the best part is that as part of this kind of continuous loop of, this continuous improvement process that they have, as a result, anytime there's an opportunity to improve this process, there's an automatic service request that gets created and related to the change request, so they know actually how to come back and improve it next time and turn that into routine maintenance. So super awesome. And again, like, as you can see from this, like editing IP ranges on network devices, right? Like there is a healthy amount of automation in play here. And it's again, just super impressive. So once again, I'd like to just thank everyone for their submissions. I want to thank, obviously, of course, our winners, but there's one more person who would like to thank our winners, and that is Akash. Akash is the product manager at Microsoft for the entire System Center suite, who said the following: "We are thrilled to see Cireson continuing to invest in technology designed exclusively for the Microsoft ecosystem. Furthermore, these awards are a testament to their continued investment in the Microsoft community holistically. These winners are helping move the needle forward in the Microsoft ITSM space." So once again, like to thank our winners. Thanks for everyone who submitted. And of course, from Akash, the highest of fives. Congratulations again to everyone.
Well, I'd like to echo that from my side too. Just, I guess the one thing I would probably point out is that it wasn't especially easy for us to select the winners. We received a lot of quality submissions, and we know better than anyone that taking a step back away from your busy schedule to, put pen to paper and document a process and really kind of work through that and send it over to us. It's not lost on us that that's a time-consuming process, and really appreciate that. And it wasn't easy to pick the winners, but we got
it. It was not easy, but it was a really enjoyable task as well, wasn't it? Because we just enjoyed reading through those submissions, seeing what you guys have all been up to. It was a lot of fun. So I also want to add my thanks and appreciate all that input from you guys.
Yeah, and certainly, like, again, like Jeff and Joel have said, right? Being able to see these for ourselves, being able to see the kind of things that customers are creating with these, with our tooling and kind of the rest of System Center is just, it's wildly impressive to see some of the stuff that everyone's come up with. So yeah, again, thanks from myself for all of us. This has truly been great. So now, all right, so System Center 2025 awards, right? Microsoft. What's coming up from Baseline? because I actually want to jump into a demo next of our upcoming baseline release, which is going to include a feature that we've been working on for some time that actually released in the latest earlier this year, and that we've made a couple other patches and enhancements and a few other fixes to. And that is Global Search plus the Archiver. So if you've been following the last kind of several latest releases, we've been working rather diligently on the Archiver. And earlier this year, we introduced the ability to have Global Search point at items in the archive. Which means that if anything ever got groomed out of Service Manager, right? So once something gets closed and it's been a couple days or been a couple months or been a couple years, I know in some customers' cases, that item gets groomed out of Service Manager, never to be seen again. And the only way to actually view it is, well, through reporting. There's no way to actually visualize a work item that's been since groomed out in the portal until these features. And so with the Archiver, we're actually now saving all work items into Cireson Analytics and into the archive. You're able to now pull up a groomed work item directly in the portal, regardless of how long ago it's been. And we're also doing a couple more steps beyond even the Service Manager data warehouse, because if this sounds like a replacement for the Service Manager data warehouse, that's because it is. The other thing we can do with this is that we're also now saving all of the work item history, including all of the comments and all of the changes that ever happened on a work item, all of the activity item history, so all of the changes that happened on that activity, and all of the file attachments that were associated with that work item when it was groomed out of Service Manager, which means that you can actually now pull up a groomed work item in the Cireson Service Manager portal and see all of it as though it were live in your database today. But now you can't edit it, but it's all there and you can get it all back. And again, on top of all of this, Global Search, which is a feature that we released several years ago and we've always been making kind of continuous improvements on, Global Search can now look at the archive. And the best part is that you don't need to understand that nuance between what's been groomed out or what's in the database. Like, just, it works kind of like you would expect. But rather than me just keep talking about this, I'm going to flip over to my lab and I'm going to walk through a quick demo, just a kind of a quick review so you could see this in action. And also, like, if you're not using it, like, set this up. So let me go over to my lab. I'm going to take it from either Jeff or Joel, right? You can see my my lab. Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
So Global Search is one of our big features inside of the portal. You can see there's a setting item for this. You can see here are some of the classes that I've selected that I want to be able to search. So I've said the things that I want to search, I want to be able to search my Active Directory users, my computers, my incidents. In fact, if I just go to this list, you can see what I have configured. This is what I want to search. These are all the classes I want to search. And again, I can configure this however I want. And so in this case, I have some users, I have a computer, I have some work items, I even have asset management warranties. Again, I could search all of this now from one search box. But best of all is I can also, again, search that archive. So to be able to search the archive, well, one, we need the archive installed, which is part of the installation experience. So you just say, enable the archive. But two, if I jump into a work item, if I were to go into like the incident class, right? You're no doubt familiar with this. I can choose which fields that I want to actually be able to be searched on this particular class, whether it be the body, the title, right? How this actually maps in my results. And if I click this little gear icon, I obviously can set what the icon is that I actually see when I'm searching up there. I can set a custom URL. So again, the custom URL and the example I think is super relevant. If you have a bunch of printers inside of your Service Manager CMDB and they have IP addresses with it, you can provide a custom URL that when you click that item in Global Search, instead of going to the config item in Service Manager, it could navigate to the web UI of that printer, because you can enumerate all the properties from that respective CI directly in the custom URL area. You also provide a predefined filter query, so you could say, I only want things that are maybe active status, or maybe things that are a pending status, right? So you control the types of things that you actually get back for this particular class in global search. And we also have several checkboxes, whether or not this actually is enabled by default, right? So whether this is actually automatically toggled on. Do you want to enable this for end users, for analysts? And of course, do you want to include results from the archive for this particular class? So this is really powerful because now you could say, maybe I want to make sure that I'm searching the archive for incidents and service requests, but not problems or changes, or vice versa, or any mix that you can possibly conjure up. And the best part is that once I've done this, that's really all there is, because it looks like this. If I were to type, I'm going to go look for some work items. So I found two. I type Power Automate. I have two work items. I have an incident and a service request that came back. And also worth mentioning, something else in global search that we have is more results, right? You could filter the results that come back if you want to. But I have these two work items, and they look, I mean, I know they're different. And if I were to open both of them respectively, I'm going to go over to my service request, and you're going to see that, yep, this is my service request. It's active, or sorry, it's not active, it's submitted. I clearly can edit this text. I could change some of these fields, right? Everything looks normal, just like it does today. There's really no change here. But if I were to go into the incident, well, something else is different here. This incident's closed, but more importantly, this incident has actually been groomed out. It's in the archive. It is in a state of archive. I can no longer edit this incident. It's impossible to edit it because, again, it's in the archive. It still looks and behaves exactly like a closed work item, with the exception that, again, it came from the archive. This actually is nowhere to be found in my Service Manager operational database. If I bring up the console, I'm not going to find it. It's been groomed out. And again, whether it's been a couple days, a couple months, or even a few years, I can still search this in global search, bring it up, load it to the portal, and be able to see all of these relationships and all of the entirety of the action log, and even the history on this work item if I want to. Now, coupled with another feature that actually recently came out to our latest branch, is you can actually now view the history of activities in line of those parent work items. So if you have service requests, you have change requests, release records, problems, anything that actually has activities or that activity flow behind the scenes, we are now allowing you to view the activity history directly in line of the parent work item history on a work item. And again, regardless if that's in the operational database or even from the archive, all of that is preserved. And again, along with all the file attachments and everything else. So again, this will, like I said, this is part of latest currently. We've had several releases of latest this year. And we're going to be having this included in baseline in about a month-ish time. So this will be making its way there. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Jeff?
I don't think Adam's ever truly done. So.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, thanks, Adam, for that demonstration, Global Search and the Archiver. Moving on, I would like to talk a little bit about Ticket. So I hope this is not a new topic to anyone. I'm sure many of you know lots about Ticket, but quick refresher. Ticket is another product from Cireson, an alternative option to SCSM and the Cireson portal. It's built natively in the cloud, SaaS application built for Microsoft 365, and integrates with lots of the other technologies in Microsoft 365. All those touch points you can see there on my diagram. Now, moving away from Service Manager to Ticket is an option. It's possible. Technically and operationally, it's absolutely doable, but it can be seen as a big change. It's a different technology concept. It's a different way of thinking. It's cloud first, cloud native technology. So that might not be the right fit for you. and that's absolutely fine. And what we're working on recently at Cireson is bringing you great technology, great solutions, whether you want to be on-prem or in the cloud. One of the most fundamental features of Ticket is AI. And if Ticket's not the right option for you, you may still be interested in bringing AI into your current ITSM solution with SCSM and the Cireson portal. So let's dive into what that could look like. So unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 years, you've heard of AI. It's center square on everyone's buzzword bingo board these days. And it wouldn't be a webinar in 2024 without some quote with a stat around the increase in AI technology. This one I pulled out, I just think it's really interesting around, where CIOs are focusing their investments and their budget, and 42% saying, yeah, that's top priority over the next 12 months. So a lot of focus, a lot of investment, a lot of people wanting to use this technology. But with great power comes great responsibility. And it's also not hard, as well as easy as to find a quote about the increase in AI usage and adoption. It's also easy to find plenty of articles, plenty of stories and facts and data about the risks of AI and the dangers. And everything we read warns about, not giving away our data, not losing control, keeping security tight, making sure we optimize our usage, and how we can make sure that AI is going to do what we want it to do, because there is a level of uncertainty here if it's uncontrolled. So we're going to talk about these 3 areas of responsible AI and how they fit into a potential solution with Cireson Portal and SCSM. So what we can do is using Ticket's AI engine, we can actually then bring AI into SMP and allow Ticket to do all the back-end work, all the handling of the AI, all for us. It's very, very kind of offloading of that AI work onto Ticket, which is already built, already does all that great work. And it gives us these great 3 benefits. So first of all, data security. We want to make sure we maintain our data for ourselves and not give it away. And the way that an AI integration works in Ticket is you deploy an OpenAI instance into your own Azure tenant. So it stays within your environment. You're not giving it away to a third party. You're not giving it away to us at Cireson. You're not giving it away to any other third party. It stays within your tenant, under your control. You can take it away anytime you want. And all we're doing is we're hooking into that OpenAI instance from within Ticket and in turn SMP. So that means that we maintain that control, which is very, very important for all of us. Secondly,
I'd say it's also worth adding, though, is that this doesn't require a public-facing portal, right? Oh. Is that this is talking internally to your Azure tenant, and your however you've networked over to Azure does not require the portal to be public-facing.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Another valid and common security concern. And yeah, absolutely, we can build a solution without having to do that. Your Azure data is public facing. Microsoft has done all that for you. They've covered all that security for you, so you can just leverage that. We want to talk about how we optimize the usage of AI. Absolutely, everyone's talking about it, but AI is not one thing, not one technology, lots of different things. And what we've really seen in the last couple of years, particularly, is the increase in generative AI. I can never say that word, which a lot of us know as ChatGPT. That's what kind of kicked this thing off 18 months-ish ago, was when ChatGPT went public and kind of exposed that experience to the world. And it's great. I mean, clearly it's great. We all love it, but it's not necessarily the most efficient way to solve all problems. It's slower than other types of AI, more traditional AI. and it's more random. You can't guarantee what it's going to bring back to you. And sometimes you want to be absolutely certain of what's going to happen. You want to know that when someone asks this question, they're going to get this exact answer, sometimes exactly word for word. If they're asking about a policy, or some sort of security configuration, you don't want something that's been kind of created and summarized. You want your exact policy, word for word, as approved by your legal team, HR team, security team, whatever it might be. So yeah, very important to use the right type of AI. And again, Ticket and thus this solution around SMP makes use of two types, traditional AI and generative AI, and uses the most appropriate technology seamlessly. You don't need to worry about that as a user. Use the most appropriate technology seamlessly around that. And with that, you can really keep your costs as low as possible by using the right technology. And if you're the sort of person or organization that from a responsible point of view is really concerned about power usage of cloud services and other resources, then that's really appropriate as well. You can read these stats that ChatGPT uses 15 times more energy than a single Google search. One question in each, 15 times more energy, just because of the way it's solving that problem, the amount of CPU and compute power is being used, and it's not always the most optimal way. So you can use more energy and it takes longer, providing a worse experience. Then it's not the right technology to use. And thirdly, model grounding. This is a really important thing. This is AI jargon. If you're not familiar with model grounding, it means being confident in what your AI is going to bring back and controlling the types of things it's going to come back with. So you want to make sure that your AI is not going to respond, to inappropriate questions, and it's not going to respond with inappropriate answers. And that can mean anything. I mean, obviously, it could be something kind of, totally inappropriate, in a work context in that sense. But I think there's much more kind of real concerns than that, which is unfortunate, but not a huge risk. But you don't want an AI kind of giving advice on something that it shouldn't be, making up answers on something that is not open. Providing a solution that is not in line with your security policy for users to go and do themselves. You don't want it doing those things. These are big risks that we need to mitigate. So we want to control exactly what it could do, and certainly what it should not be doing. And that's called model grounding. And again, in this solution, we can provide that open AI instance that we deploy to Azure with a series of documents with our own company knowledge. And we can say, forget everything you know about the world that comes from those large language models, and you only know what you can find in these documents. That could be, a series of documents. It could be a whole kind of SharePoint library. It could be an SMP knowledge base, as we're going to see in a second. And it will only be able to respond about those things. And if you ask it something completely wild, it's just going to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. So that is how we can be absolutely confident that we're going to get the appropriate answers coming back from our AI. All right, I think I've talked enough. Let me jump into a demo here. Just going to go for a refresh because I've been talking for too long. Okay, and can someone confirm you can see my SMP?
I can, in fact, see your SMP. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. So here I am in my homepage with my service catalog. Nice, simple, basic one. Hopefully you've got a lot more going on yours. But nonetheless, even 8 offerings can be too much for some users. Well, which one do I click on? Which is correct? How do I know that when I get to it, it's the right one? That sort of thing. And we're just talking about offerings here. In our portal, we also have a knowledge base. And here again, I kept it simple for the point of the demo, 3 articles, and there's some great information in here. But again, what do users need to do? They need to search, need to browse through, scan through articles, find the right information. And we all know that they don't do that very often, and they don't necessarily pick on the correct offering very often either. It can be very common to pick the wrong one. And all that great work you've done to build up these lovely processes with automation and activities can get a little bit lost because someone submits the wrong request offering. So let's keep it simple. let's stick this big box on here, ask me anything, and we can go ahead and ask anything of SMP. So let me pull up my, oh, hang on.
Yep, that's the slide.
Sorry.
All good.
There we go. It's going to go again. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So first of all, I'm just going to ask this question. What is the Wi-Fi password? This is a common question. I'm sure people ask IT departments all the time. But it's okay if you've got a good policy where you change it regularly. Now, it's not something that's going to live necessarily in your knowledge base. Maybe it changes even daily. And we can then keep whatever process is updated daily, could keep our policy up to date here. And in this case, when I press enter, I get back a very definitive answer. So that is using AI to match on my question there. What is the Wi-Fi password? No, it's not matching on exact keywords. It's not matching on the exact phrase. It's matching on the meaning of my question. So it knows what that question means. It matches something that I've pre-configured. When you get asked a question that means this, what is the Wi-Fi password? Then it's going to respond with that answer. And that's giving it to me there. And that's going to always be the same. That's not using Gen AI. That's a guaranteed answer. Likewise, maybe I ask it this kind of question. Hopefully not a common one that your user asking. I've just dropped my laptop. Can I order a new one? And this time we're matching, and we found this response, which is to go and fill in a form. It's giving us that link even. So this time it's searched the AI. It's found a match based on that question. I need to go and complete a form. And I'll just do a new tab just so I don't lose my place here. But the user would click that, and that's taking me straight to my hardware issue logging request offering, because I've matched on words related to this process, or meaning. Sorry, it doesn't match on words, it matches on meaning, intent. One more example here. How to get access to SAP? Same thing. This time it's matched to my application request form instead, because that's one is all about how to access applications and different things. Now, I've not programmed it to say if someone asks exactly how to get access to SMP, send that result. The AI knows SMP is an application. It's a question around access. It knows what to do in that case. But now I'm going to ask it something which is not going to match anything I've told it. I haven't told it how to respond to this question. But what I have done is I provided some knowledge articles, one of which is about accessing company resources remotely. And in this case, we're going to use the generative AI, having failed to find a direct match with a defined answer in my guaranteed answers. This time, we're going to go and search all those documents provided, and it's going to generate an answer that answers that question from that information. And you'll see this one just takes a little bit longer because it's doing that generative process. Just like when you type in ChatGPT, it takes a couple of seconds to come back to you. It's not absolutely instantaneous. And this is a generated bit of text based on my document in my knowledge article, but not necessarily exactly word for word. It's kind of going to summarize and match things up. And it's not going to be identical every time. It's running through that generative process. But it's found this answer for me. There's the instructions to access the VPN and what I need to do.
So related, we had a question come up in the Cireson community the other day of plans to integrate with OpenAI, ChatGPT, and the portal. Jeff, I think you can answer this now. I think.
Yeah. So this is that. This is OpenAI. Ultimately, it's ticket handling, the kind of handoff between the two. So we're leveraging the power of ticket, this sort of AI native, rather than having to do a load of coding and building from scratch. But ultimately, then behind that is an OpenAI instance in Azure, and that's what's responding to me here when I'm asking these questions.
And again, using your knowledge base, your SMP knowledge base, and your SMP service catalog.
Absolutely. I'm fully controlling what it will do. I mean, I haven't even tested this, but if I ask it what is the weather today, which you could ask ChatGPT, I could be able to spell that, of course. I could ask that to ChatGPT, I could ask that to Google, I would get an answer. Here I'm hopefully going to get, oh, I got a Wi-Fi password. That's interesting. Let me just type something even more clear. Weather. There we go. So that's my response. So I'm asking something outside the scope. I did get a false positive there on the Wi-Fi password. Might need to tune my algorithm, but I asked it something wild and I just get that I don't know. So that gives me the confidence to like deploy a solution like this because I know what it's going to respond with. There's a sort of finite number of answers. Yes, they're generative, so they are infinite in that sense, but only going to be about the documents I provided or the predefined answers I provided. So I'm feeling very safe what it will do. It's not going to give me bad advice. It's not going to make political comments. It's not going to, say inappropriate things back to me. Like we've all read those fun but slightly awkward stories in the media about when companies have deployed chat agents and that sort of thing. It's not going to do that because it's really tuned down to exactly what I want it to do. Okay, I think I will jump back to the slides and hand back to Joel.
Well, not being cheeky, but no one has asked this yet, but I suspect the question might be coming. What do you have to say about cost of deploying what you just showed?
It's a great question. I'm sure someone will ask it. So thanks for getting ahead of it.
I was gonna say, like, I can jump in here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna say I've done some of the math here. So, so at a minimum, right? Since we're utilizing Tickets AI to do this, right? This does require a ticket subscription. As far as like the OpenAI AI costs on Azure and whatnot, so at a minimum, it's approximately $70 a month for just kind of hosting documents that are being indexed and searched by Azure AI's service. And then there's a cost per transaction, which is about a couple cents. I would say you should probably expect to spend anywhere from 3 to 6 cents per interaction. But again, the way that Ticket has been architected, and certainly the way that Jeff has integrated Ticket into the SMP portal, is that OpenAI, ChatGPT are really acting as a fallback, right? So the answers that you've configured initially or that you are training the AI on is covered under a ticket subscription. Generative answers, again, when you don't have knowledge that has been kind of pre-programmed or whatever, right? That's where you incur that 3 to 6 cent cost.
Right. Okay. So I guess for the group,
jump in, Joel, because
sure.
Just to finish that answer, then that would give you the ticket subscription, the OpenAI instance to kind of back behind that. Then you would need to then plug that into SMP, as I've done. That's something that I'm just looking at who's on this webinar. I know many of you would love to have a stab at that and could do a great job, but also something that our consulting team would be happy to help with if that's something you wanted to talk to us about. So we could build, any kind of integration like that, exposing that kind of input for questions and how that response comes out. Maybe you want it on the homepage, maybe you want it in a kind of chat icon in the corner, that kind of thing. There's lots of options there. So whatever you want to do, if you need help from the consulting team, we'd be happy to talk about that.
So this is a pretty good segue into one of the items that I wanted to cover in terms of the AI functionality. Cireson costs are relatively minimal. As Jeff said, there's always the potential for consulting services engagement. I think, as most of you know, those are tied pretty heavily to, the extent of the lift, what you're trying to accomplish. And we do projects of all shapes and sizes tuned to, whatever it is that you need as a customer. So there's a few what ifs there that we would, offer a call to talk about, and more than happy to do that. But in terms of the ticket subscription, I would just add that, that's a relatively minimal cost. If you're talking about inside of the next 6 months, I think most customers are aware that, ticket is included with active support and maintenance coverage right now. Going to stay that way through the end of the year. But even after that, we'd be talking about a minimal ticket subscription of a single agent. And if you've looked at ticket before, it's priced like most SaaS products are. It's based on agents. There's a few different plans available. But to, effectively unlock this particular functionality, talking about a single agent, which is less than $40 a month or so. But again, that wouldn't even apply until next year. This year, tickets included. And tickets included now with support and maintenance coverage, really without limitation. You could do almost anything you want with it. Some customers have chosen to move to it away from Service Manager. That's a conversation we're more than happy to indulge. Whether or not that makes sense for anyone on this webinar tends to be a discussion around sort of generally where you are as an organization with your M365 story versus traditional on-premise infrastructure. We're always happy to help navigate that discussion. But some other customers have chosen to deploy ticket as a non-IT solution. For example, if HR is looking for their own ticketing product and they want to look at M365 and Teams to do that, that's another use case. So long and the short of it is ticket's still included. It's going to stay that way through the end of the year. But the only other thing I would say is that I think most of our customers are aware that we try to be as accessible as possible. Any of the topics that we covered in today's session, create more questions. We're happy to set up a meeting. Happy to set up, what would be best described as a technical check-in, just to assess where you are with ITSM. Do you have any processes that might need, sort of reconsideration or updating? I think Adam alluded to this earlier as well. Happy to talk about what the approach of Service Manager 25 might mean to you. Obviously, if you're on an older version, we can walk you through, things to keep in mind if you want to upgrade that and/or the Cireson portal, or if you want to engage us to help. Always happy to talk about that. So that's really sort of like, I guess, my closing comments on the topic. I don't know if anyone on our side has anything else they'd like to add, but certainly appreciate the session so far.
Yeah, I'll just echo really, particularly around the kind of check-in meetings. I really enjoy talking to customers, hearing their problems, seeing if we can help, hearing feedback on our products. I prefer it when it's good, but I like to hear it just as importantly when it's not so good, so that we can improve. Yeah, just want to invite anyone to reach out and ask to schedule some of that. Be very, very happy to.
Yeah, we are always willing to talk.
Yeah. And it's on the slide. Easiest way to get us, team@cireson.com, goes to really everyone that needs to see that message, and we will always get back to you as soon as we can. So I don't have much else from my side. Really appreciate the time, and hope to connect with as many of you as possible going forward. Just let us know.